Ready to go? Yeah, sure. All right, fabulous. Well, good afternoon. Am I good to go? Yeah, good. Okay, great. So I'm Rob, as most of you know. I promise I won't take very long today because I know most of you have probably made application to be extras in the movie that's going on, and I'd not like to deprive you of your 15 minutes of fame. So this really won't take a long time. So in front of you, you've got a paper that depicts what we propose. This is a much different plan than we originally proposed. It's a much lighter plan. It's probably about 25% less, or 75% less in scale, in cost, in risk, and in size. It utilizes what's already here and gives about 50% as much income, bottom line income, as we were going to do, or as the larger project was going to give us. The thing I really like about this, it's quick and it's safe. So if you haven't guessed already, the first 2 floors of that are the existing Sunday school. So there's 3 phases. I'm not suggesting, I'm going to talk about them in 3 phases, but I'm not suggesting we build them in 3 phases. I'm suggesting we do it all at once. The first phase of it is the existing Sunday school has 2 floors. We'll turn them into 2 units per level. These are small units. The other thing that I really love about this project is that they are small units. And when they're small units, they cost less, and we don't have to get as much in rent. So we hit the affordability scenario to the best of our ability. I think the people that we're after, I'll just segue here, the people that we're really after here to accommodate is an underserviced portion of the market, and that is single or couple seniors that are not ready to enter into assisted living, but want something fairly affordable and nice. And I think that's what we can do. So again, back to the existing Sunday school. So the first 2, just to orient you, you can see that the existing ramp and stairs to the main door, that's the existing main door. So then the first 2 levels will be 4 units, 2 per. Then we would propose to put a 3rd story on top, and that would give us 2 more larger units because we would stretch it out a little bit, and it would allow for some more square footage. And then you'll notice that the second, to the right of the door, is our existing. The doorway has the stairway and the elevator shaft, which we would reuse. We put a new proper elevator in, and to the right of that, we would add an addition. And if you go to page 5, I should have put it in page 2, but I didn't really think it through, and I didn't want to remove all the staples this morning. So page 5, that gives you a different view. It gives you directly from the west. So you'll see this building wraps around the existing one, the existing Sunday school slightly. Now, I really want to caution you, this is really high-level concept plans. A lot of this is going to change. I've noticed a couple things. I only got this off the presses on Friday, and I noticed that the 3-story addition portion of it was it's about 1,000 square feet too small. So I think he was trying to keep the entranceway as wide as possible, but I think we can steal a few more feet from there. So again, I said there was 3 pieces to it. So the first piece is the two levels of Sunday school existing, then the 3rd story addition to the Sunday school, and then the 3-story addition to the side of it. This also includes getting rid of, I think it's number 16, Church Street. That will widen the driveway and give us more of a sense of presence, so that this building has a sense of presence. So it's not the people that are living there don't feel like they're in the back of the back parking lot and sort of stuffed in there. So I think it will give it a better sense. Again, there's a lot of tweaking to do to this, and this is our high-level concept that will maneuver, and we've done our maneuver around and be adjusted, but we've done our best to do some costings as well. In the end, we'll have 12 brand new units. And the floor plans are there that you can play around with or have a look at. It's, again, there's a lot in there that I'm not 100% comfortable with, so that's my specialty, and I'll play with those, and we'll get them right. If you go to the last page, it's a Sunday school reno and addition proposal. So in the top area, we have description across the top, the costs, the monthly incomes, what the annual incomes would be, and the increase of annual expenses. And I'm not going to go through all of the pieces. I want to give you a fish. I don't want to give you a fish. I want to teach you how to fish. So I'll teach you how to fish on this project or on this. So just a description through it. The increased annual expenses, we took into consideration that we're already spending kind of a ridiculous amount of money on the Sunday school for utilities because it's not energy efficient, and frankly it's not used that much. And so there's one area where we're already paying taxes on the houses out front. So our taxes are going to go up. Our insurance is going to go up a little bit, but not a lot because we're already paying on a heritage building, and our utilities are going to go up, but not massively because we're going to build something very energy efficient, and we're going to make what's there even more energy efficient. So that's what that category is about. So we talk about if you go down the description, the first two floors of the existing, the third floor addition, and then the 3-floor addition, which is approximately 3,600 square feet. It's depicted in the plans, however, as 2,400 square feet. I think our designer sort of lost something in translation. So that's what I said. We're going to enlarge in those a little bit. I put a line item in here for the demolition of Church Street, the loss of the income for parking, because if we're going to add 12 new cars in there, we're going to miss some, and we're going to displace Sunday morning parking to maybe the street, and hopefully we'll still have a reasonable amount. And part of tearing down number 16 is I think that's going to add to the parking scenario as well. Just while we're talking about number 16, I've noticed that I never really looked at that building too hard, and I have not been inside, but it appears to be a brick addition to a fairly significant stone structure, which would be 14 next door. I guess is that how the numbers go? So in the end, we'd have the two stone structures, and eventually, in a later phase, you could probably renovate that and bring it up to standard, and at some point, whenever the current tenant is done with it, and similarly with the manse, whenever the current tenant is done with it, you can always re-rent it and get a more market rent for it, which would go to the bottom line. So all that to say, I don't think taking 16 down. Originally in the session meeting, I wasn't all that in favor of it, but I am now. we had some controversy there. Anyway, so I've put in a line item for my best guess on taxes, insurance, the increase in utilities, development fees. I think we're pretty close on. Project management. I have 3 different potential project managers. As I've said from the get-go, I'm not going to build this. But I found, of the 3, I think they're all very capable. The one that I'm leaning towards now is probably the least expensive, and he's local. He's in his mid-60s. He's forgotten more about construction than I'll ever know. I've known him 30 years, and I've done projects with him over the last 25 here and there. He's just gone into retirement, and he doesn't like it. So he's ideal for what we love. And one of his favorite things to do, so this would be the only thing he's working on. He's not a big company. He would just be working on this one project. He actually built the addition for the church. I don't know what it's called. It's the one in Kempville, the fairly modern church that's more or less at the corner of 416 and 43 on the northeast corner. It's not right on the corner. I think it's on Southgate, yes, yeah. So he built the addition on that. So he's used to working in a church environment and community, and he's a lovely man, and the thing he loves most to do is be on site. And so I think he'd be ideal, and I think his price is the best. As for my role, we've got a lot more to go, a long way to go in design. Then we'll get approvals. So we got a lot of way to go in design, approvals, and then permitting, and I'm going to assist in financing. So in the end, the bottom line, not the bottom line of that, is that we're looking at about $1.75 million investment into the property. With a monthly, well, let's just go to the yearly income of about $200,000 and an increase in monthly expenses of about $39,000. When we talk about mortgage, which is the next level down, if we talk about the mortgage, I've used the Wayne Gretzky method. I didn't put in here where the puck is today. I went where I think the puck is going, as far as interest rates being the puck. So by the time we're actually going to need our takeout mortgage, it's probably going to be 18 months from now, I would think. And if that's the case, presumably right now we could probably get a CMHC mortgage in the high 4s. I think we're going to be into the low 4s or maybe even 4, and that's what I've suggested in here as what our rate would be and done the calculations thereby. 50-year amortization, I've checked with the mortgage broker that I would normally use for a CMHC. I was very, very familiar with the CMHC programs, and there's 3 criteria to get a 50-year amortization with the CMHC takeout program. One is accessibility, which we will qualify for. One is energy efficiency, which we'll qualify for. And one is affordability, which we'll probably qualify for. Affordability is a tricky one because there's no real definition in the municipalities or in the province. They seem to be getting closer to one, but it varies and it seems to be a moving target. But I think with the sizes of these units and the target market, I think we're going to be able to hit that affordability unit. In the end, we only have to meet 2 of those 3 criteria to get 50-year amortization, so we will. So that's what I've used. The next section is just kind of how the rents I kind of see. So if the Sunday school unit 1 and 2, that would be the north section, because essentially the Sunday school we're going to divide in an east-west fashion. And so we'd have a north and a south. The north is going to be a little bit bigger than the south. And I think we'll get around $1,250 a month for those 2. The south side will be a bit smaller. We have it set up. I noticed he made tried to squeeze a 1-bedroom into it, but we might make it more of a studio, and it'll be around $1,000 a month. I'm suggesting at this point, I'm suggesting that these rents would include their utilities. Again, and a couple reasons why. One, the church is already, it's integrated that way already. We could change it, and we might in the final rendition. But one of the things that I know about the demographic that I think we're after, which again are singles or couples, retirees, not ready to go to assisted living, they all want one check to write. It's way, way easier. And so if we can include it in, I think it will be better. And from that perspective, these numbers I think are fairly conservative. So again, this is still high level, fairly concept, and it will, over the next several months, it will get really dialed in. So we'll have units for 1,000. Just to put that in perspective, those 1,000 square foot units are about 400 square feet. So they're sort of like, if any of you have been in my hotels, they're about the size of one of my hotel suites, which I've lived in the hotel from time to time, and for a single person, it's fantastic. It's just perfect size. Then in the upper floor, units 5 and 6 would be on the third story, the new third story above the Sunday school, and they'll be about 1,500. They might have a little bit of a view, and they're a little bit bigger. And then on the addition, again, that has to be modified because they're depicted as too small right now. But we're thinking 1,600 and 1,750. Again, some may think that 1,750 is a lot, but it's really not when all the utilities are included. And so I think we may do a lot better. But again, trying to use the Wayne Gretzky method, I can't really use the Wayne Gretzky method on this one because I don't know where the market is going. I can tell you that Brockville, out of all of the municipalities that I deal in this county, and there's 5 of them that I deal in, Brockville is doing the best job at creating new rental income by far. Nobody else is even close. So that puts us into a supply and demand issue in the way we may not want to be. And that's the other reason why I think it's important to build small units directed directly towards seniors looking for that, because it's an underserviced area in the market, or what I like to call a hole in the market. And if you figure out who needs something and you build it, they will come. It has been my experience. So the bottom line, if you go right to the very bottom line, this is again assuming a 4% 50-year amortization mortgage, and the mortgage would be for the full amount of the construction, so 1.75 million-ish. And so in the end, that means that all of your investments remain intact. We're not 100% sure how we're funding the construction yet, but we will get to that. But to talk just about this, your investments would remain your investments, and this project would fund itself 100%. So the annual income would be approximately $200,000. We'd have an increase of $39,000 or $40,000 in expenses. That would leave about $160,000, and half that's going to go to a mortgage, and half of it's going to remain as fall to our bottom line and go towards running the church. So in the end, we'd have about with this program, we'd have about an $80,000 profit. Very low risk, and can be done relatively quickly. I think moving forward, we have another 6 months of planning and approvals. And maybe, if we're lucky, we can get started this winter. Now, winter construction is not a great thing to do. And sorry, I don't mean start this winter, I mean start this fall. If we miss the fall, then I would suggest we don't start until the spring, this time next year, the construction. But if we can get it closed in and buttoned up, then if it's mainly inside work through the winter, then that's okay. But you just don't want to start construction in the winter. I've done it too many times, and the productivity gets cut in half and the costs go up significantly. Speaking of costs, so there is a cost to build this project. So how are we going to fund it? That is the question we don't know yet. And the reason we don't know is because we have several options. And I know Reverend Marianne is working on it. I know Quentin's working on it, and others. And I can tell you that on the low side, there's going to be one more line item to go into our costs, and it's a soft cost, the soft cost particularly being the construction financing. On the low end, it'll be $50,000, and on the high end, it'll be $180,000. And we just don't know what all of our options are at this point. So I understand that the session is meeting, or certain people, committees are meeting with some of the options and exploring some of the options, and we can bring that back to you when we get to that point. So in the spirit of getting you back to your 15 minutes of fame, for those of you who are in the movie. Actually, while we're talking about the movie, all of the actors are staying at my hotel, and it's been really fun walking through and seeing semi-familiar faces. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you've watched, the one gentleman, he's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something. I don't know. I don't watch that show, but apparently he's on that one. But I watched The Office. I was a big fan, and my kids were a big fan. And so there's a character on there who some people see. And so I think his name is Craig, his real name. But I didn't know that. And he came around the corner, and I was like, Daryl! And I was like, that's not his name. Anyway, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a really good boon for the local economy. Anyway, so without further ado, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to open the floor up to that. Or turn it over to Quentin.
While you're thinking of your questions, I will just answer one before it is asked. On the expense side, there's a line that says elevator and bathrooms.
Oh, I forgot.
So the bathrooms that are here are currently facing the wrong way. They'll be in the same place, but the doorway we'll rebuild them. Renovated bathrooms. The doors will be opposite the window there, so we'll actually get nice new accessible bathrooms on this floor, but because we still have to have the bathrooms. The other item is the elevator, and we'll have one of two places for the elevator. The front runner is behind when the stairs come up. They come up one side, they come up the other. We're hoping maybe an elevator will come up the center, and that way you'll get in it from roughly where the passageway is to the choir room. But that has to be properly researched and designed and see whether we can do that. The other spot that we'd like is maybe close to the front doors. But in here is money set aside for those bathrooms and for the elevator. Questions?
Yeah, we've been in the basement. We thought we tried to figure out how we could make an apartment down there, but I don't think anybody wants to live down there. So, but we'll need to fix it. It's not a difficult fix. It's a bit of a messy fix, and we may have to adjust the. We may have to adjust the ramp, maybe take it out and put it back in. We'll see. We really need to get, I know there's been some discussion about fixing it from the inside, but I really think it probably needs to be fixed from the outside. But we'll get to the bottom of that. And we have in our general budget, I think it'll come with that.
And then it will be laundry facilities or storage lockers for the people in the residence.
This is a question for Quentin. Our Sunday school seems to be evicted. Or do we have plans for where they're going to be housed?
We haven't really got quite that far. I've had a request from archives as to where they want to be. But certainly we will, there's a big nursery room there that's not fully used. There's other space in the main hall, off the main hall, in the main hall. So I'm sure we can accommodate the Sunday school to being well looked after.
I would just encourage the people to work hard on that point.
Sorry?
I would encourage you to work hard on that point.
Yes.
To ensure they have somewhere good.
Absolutely, yes.
Good ministry.
Yeah.
David has a question.
I guess at first brush, I think the concept's more realistic than what we had initially, even though I was kind of excited about the first one. But the risk factor and the timing, I think, are critical. And the reason I'm a little concerned about the timing is we've been a year getting to the concept. Not to be criticizing, but 4 dates have been passed because probably of some things you've had to evaluate. So I'm a little concerned about the timing to get developments completed. Our clock's ticking here very quickly, and I think that'll be a very critical point when we come to the vote, is realistically, how can we go through the design, the compliance, and the actual construction that meets our church timetable? I think that's what I'm concerned about. So I think before we vote in a future date, to have some validation associated with the market that you have identified, number one, whether we meet the downtown improvement plan incentives in time, because there's a sunset to that, as you know, and it gets reviewed, and just some overall validation associated with some of the cost and so on. I've been through so many developments, and those things come up on budget, on time, and so on and so forth. But again, I guess if I have to underline anything, it's the timing, and the timing. But I think you've hit the market identification really, really well, and I think the market analysis, you'll probably provide that data as well. But I think based on that, it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, just to respond to that, Dave. I apologize it's taken so long to get to this stage. Concept it seems like the easy part, but it's really the difficult part. It's the longest piece, because you kind of have to crawl into a concept. And so you pick one and you crawl in and you play around with it, you try it on, you see how it feels, and then you poke holes in it. And my process, at least, it takes a long time to sort that through. I know even the big one downtown that they've done, they've been working at that for a year and a half, maybe, at this point, and they really only have a concept, and they've gone for plans. I think we're a lot further along in our concept. And in fairness, it's much easier because it's much smaller. But my experience in doing these types of projects is that this really is the longest phase, because you have to get it right. And I've been even more cautious on this one, because it's not my money, it's yours. And I want to make it as the least pitfall-y as possible, because we can't have a fail. With regards to the current numbers, this is our best guess at now. These numbers are all going to change. It's our best guess. And until we actually say, yes, we're going to go, and we get some approvals and we get some final plans, we won't know what the real costs are. And so as we move along in any real estate development, there's always the chance that no deal is an option. And I always try and keep that on the table, because if you get too involved, and I've done it myself, I've seen friends do it, where they get so involved in, no, this is my concept, I have to get it, I got to do this, and they go, the numbers don't say yes, and they move forward anyway. It can be a problem. And so at this level, at this point, it's very high level. I don't think, Dave, you'd know better, or as well, about how long it takes to get approvals. I think we can get approvals. We can get on approvals pretty quick once we get a yes or a no. But I think 6 months is probably plenty for that. And I know the design phase can be pretty quick and happen along those timelines as well. With regard to market research, I don't know what to do. The market research I've always done is I felt it. I'm in the market, I feel it, I understand it. I know there are studies that are about $20,000 that you can buy for somebody who's not in this market, who's to do a desktop study. They're usually from Toronto or Ottawa, and they can do a desktop study. I just don't think that they are as valid as somebody with boots on the ground. So unless you have, you may have, and we can talk another time, and maybe you may have some other suggestions for me that could help that process. Anyway, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Maybe I misunderstood you when you first started. Are you proposing two levels and then the third level at a later date? Or all three levels to be?
No. I was just suggesting in phases. I was going to talk about them in phases, just so the building is easy to understand. We have 2 levels of current Sunday school, a 3rd level on top, and then a 3-story addition. I propose that they're all done at the same time. Yes, but just for the purpose of talking. So I apologize. It was confusing.
Just one other. Are there any zoning issues foreseen?
Well, we're going to have to go for a site plan for sure. I don't think, and because we are in institutional zone, we will have to do a zoning amendment to allow for the residential, but I don't think I don't think there's anything insurmountable. All our setbacks are going to be within range. We're not doing anything way out of the norm, and you always have to get some sort of approvals. But I would say, would you say, Dave, it's pretty benign when it comes to that? Yeah.
So if it's a zoning change, it would have to be a public meeting
Yes.
or solicit public input?
Yes.
And you never know how that's going to go. But.
You never do, but again, we're not asking for 9 stories downtown with no parking.
Thank you.
And so, in comparison to what just got approved, I think it's pretty easy. Yeah.
My question would be to do with fire, because the way that the driveways are done now, it's pretty restricted. So in the case of a major fire, I'm I don't know for a fire approval service. I'm thinking about an article in the Toronto Star about in Toronto laneway additions. And this particular person redid a whole, I think it was actually the garage of where she lived, and she got the whole thing. I don't know if she got the whole thing done and built, and it turned out that the distance from the fire hydrants down the shared driveway or whatever became the problem. So is that part of what you would do? Is you'd have to look into all the fire considerations?
Part of that is. That's all part and parcel when you go for approvals. Everybody gets circulated, and the fire department's one of them. And they have certain needs. And so one of the things that they will like is by eliminating Unit 16, they're going to have a much easier time of getting into the back.
Is number 16 the one on?
Yeah, that's the one closest to the driveway. That's right. So that would open it up by about 20 feet, at least at the beginning, at the front. Yeah. So I think it'll be, and I don't know where the fire hydrants are, but I think things are fairly covered in the area. Yeah. So, but that would go through. That's going to be part of the decision for sure.
If there are no other questions right now, session members need to hear from you if you think we're on the right track on this. We do, as you say, the big piece, we need to work out the financing for the actual construction. So there's financing for the construction. Once you've got it built, you can get a mortgage. So it's 2 levels of financing, and but we've reached out to Wood Gundy to ask for their financing people to talk with us, and we're reaching out to the Presbyterian Church of Canada to give us some ideas about what they would recommend. So hopefully we can get that piece together fairly quickly, because we do want to speed up things now. But we also want to make sure that whatever motion we bring to you is a comprehensive, effective motion which gets the whole ball rolling. We're leaving the 3 or 4 stage level. We at this point think we've got to the concepts here. If we're okay with this, we'll get an enabling motion. There will be tweaks to the design, as Rob said. The visual here is a little too small. We've got to expand that. We'll have to be reporting back to session along the progress, and that there might come points where session will say, oh, we need to go back to the congregation now just to inform them and ratify that we're on. You know, so there'll be that judgment period where sometimes session will have to go, oh, that's something we can't say on our own. We need to go to the congregation to approve that. So we may have a number of meetings, hopefully short ones, in the coming year if we move ahead. But the first thing we need to know is if we are on the right track. If those of you in this room could please speak to a session member, just let us know if we're on the right track. Then we can call a formal meeting as soon as we've got those funding numbers together. Because then, if we move forward, then we want to get breaking ground by November, so we can get this starting to go up in the winter rather than waiting for next spring. Any other questions, comments? Okay.